crazy. One was Fight of the Year and one was Fight of the Night that I got a bonus for. So if I'm honest, respect to Brent, but I've got to make an example of him, and I've got to stand out from a crowd of killers in Scotland.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that by having a little close fight. I'm going to go there and I have to make an example of him and finish him quick and let him know that he's not on this level, but respect to him.
Excellent stuff, sir. The King is back in Blighty on October 1st, looking to make an example, and be sure to check that contest out at Glasgow's Hydro. And showing some love at Ed Arthur MMA on Twitter as well, folks. Ed Arthur, once again, thank you so much for your time here on the Martial Arts Chat podcast, sir.
Thank you, mate. I'm looking forward to coming to Glasgow and putting on a real fight.
Oh, you can! Best of luck to Ed Arthur come fight night, and trust me, guys, you don't want to miss that one. Moving on with some of our native Scottish fighters here on the card, and first up is one of our favourites. He's the bad guy fighting out of the Scottish Hit Squad. He's Mr. Chris Bungard. Chris, always a pleasure to get your time on the Martial Arts Chat podcast, sir.
Today is a good day, John, and it's going to get a whole lot better.
It's been quite a wee while since we last spoke, mate, and before we get into ACB and Gavin Hughes, just if we can recap the life of the bad guy. We had your contest against Xavier Cedras, BAMA 25.
Yep.
You took a TKO loss, sir, but some controversy in that fight, an illegal elbow. Can I ask you just to cast your mind back if you can remember much of what was going on in that moment? And obviously we saw you were willing to continue. Do you think that was the right decision in hindsight, sir?
Yeah, well, I was probably losing the fight anyway, so I'm not going to go out like a punk like some of the other ones did in that card and I'll just take the victory because you elbowed me back head. Yeah, I was a wee bit dazed. The ref took a point off. We got on with the fight. He done his job. So, no queries about continuing on. I'm there to fight, no there to lie down, steal a victory.
Fair play, sir. Disappointing result, but naturally, certainly you can never question your heart, sir. And let's move on to what was your next contest, the FFC, where you got a victory, took a title, got back to winning, and very convincing and dominant victory for you there. How did you feel going into that fight? And obviously that sets you up nicely for the 1st of October.
Yeah, the fight was it was good to get back to winning ways. I definitely underestimated Eric, the Frenchman, Eric Ramillion. He was really strong and tougher than I thought he would be, so it put me in some awkward situations, but the technique of the hit squad always prevails, John. And I got out there luckily. I remember he had my back, and I'm just thinking, oh fuck, no this again, no two in a row, no surely, but reversed it around and got the finish, which I was pretty ecstatic about. After you lose, it's like, that's when you realise who the real fighters are about here.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, yeah, if you take a loss and you're out for a few years, kidding yourself over and getting fat like some people. But a loss really defines you as a fighter. So I think every athlete deserves to lose at least once, just to know how it feels.
Yep.
And tell you what kind of fighter you truly are.
Absolutely. Let's get to ACB 47 then. Firstly, Chris, how did the promotion get in touch? How did this all come about?
I had a fight lined up obviously against Eric Ramillion, and I just heard that ACB are coming to Glasgow, and I just got offered to fight on it, and I was like, they weren't sure if it was a hydro or not, but I said yeah anyway, regardless, because I knew it's a huge show. So then it was like, it's a hydro. I've got Gavin Hughes. 10 seconds, I'd said yes. You know what I mean? You don't get to fight the hydro too many times in your life, so even though I had a fight lined up, I just said yeah right away. It's basically a dream come true, fighting your home nation's biggest arena, so
absolutely.
Who the fuck's got to say no to that?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%, mate. And of course, like you said, being in Glasgow, massive venue, big card of British fighters on there as well. Certainly an exciting night. How are you feeling with training with weight cut now? We're only a week removed from fight night.
The training's been going good. I've had a few little niggles, little injuries, but we're good to go now. The weight's just a process. The last 2 weeks it goes with a process for me, but it's on track basically. Better my Bama one anyway, put it that way. My last fight I got it down to a T. It was still pretty tough. I'm not a big lightweight, so to say, in commas. So it should be okay. I can weigh in a bit earlier for ACB now with the whole same as UFC. I get to weigh in the mornings, but then the public weigh in at night. So they're doing that for this. So that's a bit early if I get more time to rehydrate and refuel for come fight time.
That's it. Moving on to your opponent then, Gavin Hughes. He's a young up-and-coming prospect, undefeated so far in his career, Chris. Have you had a chance to watch him, check him out, and do you rate him? How do you rate his game?
Yeah, I do rate Gavin. I've watched a few of his fights. Pretty solid fighter from a solid gym. Good wrestler, good top position, solid strikes. I know he's undefeated at pro and amateur, but I think he's had his harder fights at amateur. Because his pro fighters guys have been shit. They've no won a fight, but that could be down to nobody wants to fight him.
Sure, yeah.
His amateur fights were tough opponents. Gunnar Nelson's teammate Big A was a good fight. So yeah, I'm expecting a war, but he's in my country, so we'll see how this goes down.
He's got to deal with the bad guy at home. Just since you brought him up, Gunnar Nelson, I know the last couple of fight camps you've managed to make your way over to SBG Ireland. Has that been at all on your radar in the lead up to Gavin Hughes, or is it strictly Scottish hit squad duties this time round?
I started my camp in SBG for Eric, but then because the fight was only like 4 weeks after my last fight, so I just done up the full 4 weeks or 5 weeks at hit squad. My next fight, I'll go over, spend some time over there again as well. I'd like to go over to Belfast and maybe catch a Gunner fight. We'll see what happens.
As we spoke about before, Chris, we've seen you in big shows like Bama 25, Barclaycard Arena. I'm probably going to show bias with this next question, but I don't think you can compare to such a big venue and crowd like Glasgow's Hydro. What does it mean to you fighting in front of your hometown fans and thousands at the SEC Hydro?
Oh, it's cliche, but it is basically a dream come true. Even though the Hydro's not even been built that long, it is what Scotland's needed as a nation for that big venue it could hold, big shows, big fights. So I just hope it's packed. I know my fans will be in full voice, but I just hope the Scottish MMA fans dig in their pockets and come support Scottish MMA.
Here. We're all super excited for you, Chris. Can't wait till the 1st of October, and I'm sure you can't either, mate. Be sure to check Chris out on Facebook at the Bad Guy Bungard, and on Twitter show some love as well at Cower Bungard. At this time, Chris, we say thank you, sir, and best of luck against Gavin Hughes.
Right, thank you very much, John. Right, take it easy.
Fantastic stuff from the bad guy, and can't wait to see him do his thing at the Hydro. And now we have returning to the show none other than the hater, Kieran Malone, and we talk ICW, the Olympics, and of course his opponent, John the One Maguire. Back here on the Martial Arts Chat podcast, sir.
It's good to be back. It's been too long without the hater on the Martial Arts podcast.
Absolutely. Now let's get straight into ACB 47 then. A quick turnaround for you, sir. Only a few weeks removed from your victory at SFC 11. When did ACB give you the call? And with a huge event like this in Glasgow, I guess there was really, you couldn't say no, could you?
Oh, they'd kind of offered me the fight before I had that fight with Antanas Jasbutis at SFC. Mm-hmm. But me, along with my coach James, we didn't really want to take the fight until I got that fight out of the way.
Sure.
So I kind of knew it was coming.
Yep.
So right after I beat Jasbutis, I wasn't really banged up at all. Maybe only had like a couple of niggles, but nothing too serious. So right after that fight, they were kind of on off on the fight, and then obviously with the show being at the Hydro and the opponent being kind of such a good opponent, there was no real chance I was going to turn the fight down.
Absolutely. So I didn't realise that. So you're going into SFC with that fight offer on the table. How does that not distract you from the fight? Not wanting to get injured, and like you said, make sure you were fresh for when the Hydro came around.
I think one of the worst things you can do is try and not get injured. It's like football. If you're going to have a 50-50 challenge, the worst thing you can do is go in half-hearted and then try not to get injured. And that's when you get injured.
That's right.
So it's similar to the fight. I knew just kind of go out and fight my game, and then if all was well, I'd be fresh for the Hydro. But it was a good kind of carrot to have dangling over that. I knew if I get quite a dominant win and a good performance, that fight was waiting on the horizon after.
Superb. And so to your opponent then, sir, John the One Maguire. He's a UFC veteran, a very experienced fighter, highly rated. Would you say this is your toughest fight to date, Kieran?
Oh, probably my toughest fight to date by kind of a decent bit, but the way my training's going and the way my last performance went and the way I can feel stuff coming together when I'm in there fighting now, like I'm operating at a kind of different level than I used to. And like I've seen some of John's fights before and I hadn't really watched much of him recently, but I watched a couple of his fights last night, and the more I watch him, the more confident I'm getting for this fight. Like, although he's a tough opponent with kind of UFC experience, like I think he's tailor-made for me, and I think this will be my best. In fact, I know this will be my best performance to date.
I mean, you're saying you're watching him back, it gives you confidence. What is it you see in him that sort of inspires you and makes you feel good come the 1st of October?
I don't want to give too much away to kind of like game plan wise, but I don't think like he's a good fighter, but like I've not really seen much improvement in him.
Yeah,
in this kind of maybe the last 4 or 5 years. I think John's the fighter that he's going to be. Whereas like if there's no point in John watching any of my other fights, but like I'm improving so much every day. Like it'd be pointless for him to try and prepare for my video for 2 years ago.
Yeah,
because I'm just kind of operating at a different level now. Whereas if I watch a fight of him from yesterday compared to 2 years ago, he's fighting the same way. And I actually think he's on the decline a wee bit. Like I just feel it's a good time to fight him. Well,
looking at his last out, I mean, we saw him dominate Colin Fletcher. He finished him with the Kimura. Like you sort of alluded to there, he's got a varied skill set, but he is very experienced. But one thing he doesn't have, Kieran, is a hometown advantage. Glasgow's Hydro is expected to be packed that night. How much will that fuel the hater come fight night, and what does fighting in front of thousands of hometown fans mean to you, sir?
Listen, I actually perform a lot better in the kind of these pressured environments, so there's going to be a lot more people there. Like it tends not to bring me the best out of me when I'm fighting at Alloa Town Hall, but fighting at the Hydro, like I'm going to be there to put on a performance. Like even personally, I'm going to be selling lots of tickets for this show. I'm probably going to be bringing, I reckon, pretty much the top 2 kind of most amount of fans to the show. So like I'm going to be putting on a performance for them. Like I'm not going out there to just lie top of someone like John Maguire will probably try and do. Like I'm coming out there to make it exciting, and I'm coming out looking for the finish.
Excited for that, sir. Coming away from ACB for a moment and to MMA, we always love to have you on to give us your thoughts on WWE and pro wrestling, even though people give me shit about it for talking in the show, but hey ho. It's something we both have an interest in, isn't it? So let's start with Mr. Phil Brooks, CM Punk. What did you make of the whole 2.5 minutes of his UFC contest?
When he came out to Cult of Personality, it was probably my favourite UFC moment in maybe the last 5 years. It's the best entrance I've seen in a while. But at first, I didn't even want to watch the fight because I love Punk so much as a pro wrestler. I didn't kind of want to have it as the vision that I have him ruined for me by watching the fight. Yeah. But I eventually got around to watching it, and he was pretty poor, wasn't he? But fair play to him. The man's a multi-millionaire. He didn't really need to go in there and fight, did he? He's went out there, he's performed, and fair play to him for stepping in there. But he's obviously nowhere near the skill level required to compete there. I don't think he can even win fights in a local show, to be honest.
Wow. I mean, funny to say, I think the words you used to describe him last time you were on was he was going to be simply going to be a jobber. Do you think the UFC will? Do you think they'll offer him another fight? Do you want to see him fight again in MMA?
Yeah. I'd watch him fight again. I don't know if I want to actually see him fight again. I can't imagine the UFC letting him fight again, because as you rightly said, that was a jobber-like performance. Like we want to see good fights in the UFC. That should be reserved for the best of the best. Absolutely. I think it does devalue the product a wee bit by putting him in there, but it wouldn't surprise me if he went to Bellator. Bellator should probably sign him because he doubled the UFC's pay-per-view, so I'd imagine he'd bring in ratings. He's going to be a good signing for someone.
That's right. Yeah, true, you make a good point, actually. As for the Hydro in Glasgow, and staying with pro wrestling, are you planning to make a return there in November for ICW, for Fear or Loathing 9, I think they've got?
Oh, you better believe I'll be there. It's actually a really good show. They've got a couple of good wrestlers, but I all think they've got like Mick Foley, the Dudley Boys. They've got like a kind of lightweight guy called Ricochet. I don't know if you've seen him wrestle.
Absolutely, yeah, man.
Ricochet is excellent, so he's probably one I'm looking forward to most seeing wrestle. And Kurt Angle as well. Looking forward to seeing Kurt Angle. I always like going to ICW shows. Yeah.
Pro wrestling, it's is that still an itch in your life, Kieran? Will you ever swap the cage for the squared circle at any point in your career?
I think a lot of people are more trying to push me into it than I am. I think a lot of people keep mentioning it, like, oh, you should maybe give that a try, but I can't see myself doing it. But you never know.
You never say never.
If if ICW want the hater to come, cut some promos, whip some boys, you never know. Don't pay me as well.